Introducing Huawei MateBook X Pro, winner of 27 global awards that now comes with Windows Hello. Unlock your Huawei MateBook X Pro with a touch of your fingerprint. Secure, fast, and no password to remember. For a limited time, get a free $300 gift card with purchase. Visit a Microsoft store near you today. And we are live. One Australian state is considering banning students from using smartphones. Meanwhile, back in China, we're staring into the bezelless abyss and wondering what it is. Well, just what is it? Because the leaked picture sure doesn't really tell its own story. Also, is Apple capable of releasing anything that's not an iPhone, iPad, or MacBook on time? Do cameras really have to be over-engineered to avoid punching a notch into our faces? And what the heck is HGTV? No, IGTV, that's right. And why is Pocketnow involved in your home and gardening needs, I guess? We'll have some answers for you, as well as a lot of conversation this week on the Pocketnow Weekly, recorded live on this June 22nd. It's a Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern. And I'm here. I'm Jules Wong. We are here to discuss all the things that relate to mobile technology, from smartphones to tablets, smartwatches, and everything in between, the stuff that you would imagine you would have as a kid. My name, again, is Jules Wong, and that was an introduction. I am going to introduce Jaime Rivera, our multimedia manager, in hopefully a few minutes as he tries to get along to his bodega for a little bit of a recording. And in the meantime, we have my friend, colleague from Android Police, Ryan Hager. Hello to you in Boston.
Hello to you, Jules.
Hey, what's been up recently? We haven't talked in a while, so I was just hoping that we could, this is kind of like the pre-catch-up because we've actually scheduled a little brunch tomorrow. So, but I was just wondering how you've been.
I've been good. I mean, news is slowed down. We're in June. There's not a whole lot going on, but a lot of speculation for, upcoming phones. Anticipating Samsung's
I feel
next
like the
Note.
melodrama. Yeah, totally. The melodrama has kind of increased, even for just the more kind of filler type of stories. Just because, it's the fact that we are in doldrum mode here.
Yeah.
So.
Early summer is the slow season, but nonetheless, there's been a couple of interesting things percolating out. A few new phone releases. There was the HTC U12
Plus, and whatever that name really means. We had an advocate of that phone actually on last week's show because.
How did you find one?
Well, you just have to know a few friends. That's all.
You must have asked quite a few people.
He just came. I asked him to be on the show, and then he just came up with that little.
Oh, I meant to find someone who was willing to advocate.
Totally. It's I asked about 15,000 people, and I specifically invited that one person, the only one, to participate on the show because we are all in the pockets of HTC. Not sponsored. Just want to take a quick second to promote our hashtag PN Weekly. We want to get a conversation going on one of our later topics this episode, and that is the talk about Australia, specifically New South Wales. The government there looking into a study on how kids use their phones in school. So from kindergarten all the way up to 12th grade, what did they do, and how should they tailor their policies for smartphone use on campus. So if you want to talk about that, do so on Twitter with the hashtag PN Weekly. And in any other case, you can actually just talk about what we're talking about as we're doing it live at 5 o'clock on a Friday. However, if you can't make it live, if you really just want to get a question out there and have it answered, or if you just have a few thoughts in general, you can email them to us. We're at podcast@pocketnow.com. I'm at a Target. I'll have to admit, I apologize for any background noise from the blended drinks at the Starbucks around the corner,
screaming children,
literally around, and screaming children, bouncing balls. No, I totally get it. I'm pretty much bothering this space too, just by continuously talking for the next hour. So I kind of feel bad myself. But what am I going to do? I'm here. I'm kind of in this position, and I don't really have other alternatives at this point. So We're doing this, baby. All right. Let's see. What do we talk about first? Let's talk about something that's visual. If you want to refer to your rundown, it's linked in the podcast description of whatever podcasting app you're doing. I just want you to look at this because this is it's interesting. Okay,
it's a vision of beauty.
And I won't be able to share it on the screen here because it'd be a little awkward. But in any case, so recently we saw this on Weibo pop up. I believe it was from that renowned tech analyst Ice Universe or something like that. It could be. Yep, it was Ice Universe, and he posted it on Twitter actually. So this was kind of a cross-platform promotion kind of thing, and it was just this picture of kind of an iPhone 10 like thing or like a Galaxy S10 thing. And there are basically no bezels. There's like an edge effect kind of screen going on, and there's a whole lot of gloss and very few little bezels. Like it's uniform, goes around the curves, around the corners, and people were amazed. Now, the beyond word. This may be a design beyond. That was the tagline that he used there. The beyond tagline or the moniker has been associated with the project codename that Samsung is using for next year's Galaxy S10 or whatever it's being called. So a lot of people have been associating this with, hey, this could be coming in 2019. Now, I know, Ryan, that you spoke to me before the show about what your convictions are about this picture here. So have at it. What do you think?
So I looked at it in some pretty good detail. Obviously it was posted to Twitter, so it's not the original image, so I wasn't able to like play with the levels and see if there was anything nefarious going on. It's compressed, but that is without a doubt the body of a Galaxy S9. The button placement and the shapes, the exposed little bit of metal on the bottom, everything about it physically excluding the screen is a Galaxy S9. There's also something weird going on with the reflections going up the sides in the top left corner. I'm fairly convinced that this isn't real and this is a shop. It just looks like somebody put a big screen on an S9. The body's identical.
Sorry, top left corner relative to the original image, which had it in the vertical position.
Yeah. There's something weird about that reflection. It just stops. It doesn't. The glass should curve unless it's like a harsh edge there, and there's something weird going on.
I mean, we don't have any light sources that we can discern from this, and it's like lots of it is left to the imagination just because it's just one image and that we don't see any other aspects to it. But
that's certainly true. But it is exactly the body of an S9. Button placement is pixel perfect.
I mean, wasn't it the case for like the Galaxy, like the S8 and the S9 pretty much had the same kind of a...
Actually, to my knowledge, and as so far as I've been able to tell, because I actually haven't played with either phone, the button placement did change slightly on the S8 to the S9. There's a little bit of tweaking that happened. They're in basically the same spot, but it's not pixel perfect like this. So if this is an S10, it's the first time I've known that Samsung's done this exact consistent placement between generations.
Interesting. Well, if we want to be able to incorporate our friend that just joined the show, Jaime Rivera, hello to you, salutations, and hopefully the traffic wasn't too bad. And you still Guatemala at this point?
It's horrible. Hello. But wait a second. I forgot my key too. I'll be right back. Keep going.
Here we go. Here, we're going to have an impromptu hands-on segment. It's going to be amazing, and the show will go over by like 30 minutes. So we're going to have a fun time with that, I think. But in any case, yeah, I mean, there was this kind of addendum to it. Ice Universe later posted a lot of the repost stories, so every publication that did it. We didn't get to it until Friday because we wanted to, because we wanted to let it settle down first. But I was able to catch this. Yes. Hey,
how are you?
We're pretty good. We're pretty happening at this point.
Just want to better exposure here. Microphone's on. Everything is set.
We're all in. How
are you? Have you been behaving?
Jules never
behaves. No. I have treated your house or your apartment with kindness and I've also given out some halal to your sister's son. So that's great. I've completed my task.
Good. How's life in the United States? I'm currently enjoying the beauties of Latin America.
Yeah, we're pretty good. We're pretty happy here. We are live, just to make sure that you.
No, I'm kidding. I knew we were live.
Okay, just making sure. Don't want to expose too much information here about. I could go into like the 3-day tour about what I've been doing in New York, but yeah, Jaime was gracious enough to lend me his sister's apartment for a few days, and very grateful again.
Good.
As I'm trying to re-rail us and get us back on this Long Island Railroad Express train to Bezeldom, or bezel-less dumb, I guess you could say. So Ice Universe walked back just a little bit, it seemed like, on his Weibo page, or their Weibo page. And here's the loose translation of what they said. Foreign media is arguing whether this is a real Galaxy S10. But my take is that this hand, I guess a hand of cards, figuratively speaking, is worth raising. This device can be said to have flown out of the country to the international stage. This device has all sorts of black magic and cutting-edge equipment in it and may set an international standard. So kind of embellishing things around it, garnishing.
It's a concept design. It's a concept design. I don't think the technology is ready for us to get a phone that has so little bezels. Like, that thing literally has absolutely no protection around the borders. Like, we know that there is a need for the connector for the OLED. So unless they figure out a way to flip, which I know that Samsung can totally just, OLED, turn it around and pull what Apple did with the iPhone 10, but I don't know, man.
Yeah, having an extra bit of that display tucked under it so that the connector can be hidden. And,
folding the controller with the flexible substrate.
No need to show that controller off with the chin. So, I mean, that's the hope. Perhaps, I mean, Samsung, if this is Samsung's, they control their displays and they control pretty much a lot of aspects, including silicon, on their devices. So, I mean, if it's anyone that may be able to do it, could be Samsung. But let's move on from this and talk about another little hot little topic here.
What is that noise, by the way?
That's he's at.
I'm in Target, and there's a parenting thing going on over there right now.
And blenders and Starbucks and
blenders, Starbucks, and if you were here earlier, bouncing balls.
I can tell.
Yeah. No, this is the life, man. I mean, if you want to be on the road and do things and get stuff together, then you have to make everything happen. Let's not delay any further and talk about delays. Let's talk about Apple and its inability to kind of get things straight. It has its agenda for like maybe an AirPod or HomePod, and then the reality sets in. Engineers find trouble here, trouble there with the components or the software, and in general, I mean, we've been talking about iOS 11 and 10 and how they've been crashy, buggy messes, and it still doesn't seem like, I mean, it's just spread all over. They're still trying to figure that out. So I'm wondering how you guys feel about reports about AirPower, which is their multi-device wireless charging pad concept. Still a concept because it hasn't been released.
I don't know, man. The moment I saw AirPower, one of the first things that I thought was, oh my God, I have this, I have the Link bracelet on my Apple Watch. And I'm like, how am I going to lay my Apple Watch with the Link bracelet on that pad? You just can't. It wasn't designed for that unless you're using their loops or their whatever material, rubber or whatever it is, the polyurethane, I think it is, bands. Unless you're using that, you're not going to be able to use that thing. So honestly, I mean, I guess a lot of people have been making like a big deal over the fact that pad has been delayed. I'm sure that thing is going to be so expensive that I would rather buy like 5 different wireless chargers that I could set in just around different parts of my room anyways. So for me, it's like, I'm just giving you my personal opinion. I honestly don't care. Like I feel that just launching a larger battery pad is yeah. I'm sure that for some people that only have one iPhone and one Apple Watch with the polyurethane band and their AirPods, yeah, I'm sure that they're going to be happy. But yeah, you know, they're delayed and whatever. Like,
I mean, Ryan,
there are a ton. There are a ton of really good wireless chargers out there right now. Like
there are.
Yeah, like speaking, for example, Diego, give me a second. Give me a second, Diego. Oh, he's editing the daily. Sorry, but I have this wireless charger from Speakin, which supports the fast wireless protocol that we've seen from Samsung. It is really good. Like there are just so many options out there right now, and I'm sure that they're not going to have the Apple tax. So it's like whatever.
Yeah, it's going to be so expensive that the price difference won't be worth the fact that you could pick up 3 or 4 generic ones and have 3 or 4 chargers instead.
Exactly. Like I've got like 2 Xiaomi, one of those wireless charging pucks from Xiaomi. I have 2 of those over here in the bedroom. I have one in the desk over there. I like in the apartment in New York. I've got 3 lined up, and you know I am sure that all those 7 wireless chargers are going to be cheaper than Apple's anyways.
Yep.
So, I mean, I'm totally glad that we're kind of dismissing the hardware at hand. I mean, so why even bother with this kind of show of force with the AirPower? I mean, if it's going to cause delays, if it's going to take up this much manpower anyways, why even bother? Because I know that we've been talking about, or the big deal that has been made about this improvement, or recently, I guess, is that Apple's aiming for a buttonless, portless iPhone, and that this is the way in for them. This is the way that they can brand themselves.
Right.
Vision, but it's like But it's like, well, sure, if that's, I guess, has been always their vision. Johnny Ive, their head of design, has said no less than that. Like, well, where does this land? Because this does not really, it doesn't make sense to me.
Well, it makes sense to me from the perspective that the more connectors you have on a phone, it's more difficult to make it water resistant. So bear in mind, the more components in a product, the more difficult it is to manufacture, the more margin of error you have for it to break in any way. During the manufacturing process, it adds more complexity and also making it water resistant. So for me, it makes a lot of sense for companies to consider the idea of moving away from ports completely if they can. Like, I get it. Like, if the plan is for ports to be removed in order to make the manufacturing process faster, great. Now, I actually covered the news in the daily over the rumors that Apple really wanted to do it for the iPhone 10. For me, because the iPhone 10 was such a breaking product, like before and after, I think it would have made a lot of sense for the company to figure it out. But according to the rumors, it seems that just a lot of I guess the test pilot consumers that they got to show the product, or I don't know what, but according to the rumors, it's consumers were going to have a lot of issues with you're already killing the headphone jack. You're also going to kill this port as well. And you're not gonna add some AirPods into the box. And probably one of the main selling points of the iPhone ever since Generation 1 is, hey, we're including a pair of really good headphones. Which, what are you going to connect them to? Would the future be that the iPhone 10 2018 or next year's will bring no ports and a pack of AirPods? Could be. I mean, I feel that would be great. But there were other challenges with that premise. The other one is obviously the fact that wireless charging is horrendously slow. And like in the case of Apple products, they don't support the faster charging that we see on Galaxy phones, which is not significantly faster, but it is faster. And so think about it. I mean, it's not like if you've got this amazing battery life on the iPhone 10, and you're also going to force me to use a wireless charger, which means I can't use my phone while it's charging unless I look like really ridiculous while holding it here and there, or
like on Apple Pencil levels of charging.
Right,
it's
right.
Stupid and slow. But I want to give one last thought, because I do want to move on to Ryan here, because in terms of what we've seen, it's the old idiom about Apple, is that they're not always the first, but they're always better at producing a product. And but in recent times, especially with like the side projects, you could say that about the AirPods. I don't know if you could say that about the HomePod, especially because of Siri. I mean, they were first to that, but it was just as involved. Yeah. So what do you think about Apple's kind of side branches here and kind of letting it, I don't know, wither on the vine?
I don't know, because it has been 10 months since they announced that they were going to do it, and they still haven't done it. I honestly, couldn't even speculate. Like, I don't know if they're holding their feet for new products and they want to make sure that it's really well integrated into the ecosystem as opposed to just the 3 products that currently support it. Could be in the future. We still haven't seen a MacBook revision. We're late for that now. That was expected at the event that just happened, and that wasn't there. So it could be we're going to see this proprietary wireless charging tech integrated into a wider variety of devices, and they're holding this back specifically so that it hits everything at once. I don't know. On the subject of losing ports, though, our managing editor, David Ruddock, actually wrote a very, very long, very interesting op-ed on that subject just this morning that I would highly recommend you give a read.
I love David's writing, by the way. So, yes, definitely give it a read.
Yeah, it's a good definitely. One. It's, you know, we love what you guys do at Android Police because, well, I hate to make you talk about, you know, Apple stuff, but again, like you guys.
No, I'm interested in the subject. Yeah,
totally, and like you guys do pretty good on the cross-platforming kind of opinionated writing because you know David Ruddock has lived with iOS for months at a time.
Exclusively for a month. Yeah, he did not touch Android during that time, to my knowledge.
Very interesting stuff. Again, I'll update this as we push live on the audio post for this podcast episode. In the meantime, I do want to get your first initial take, Ryan, on because we haven't heard from you on this podcast about the Key 2. Just like a quick few thoughts about it.
I think the price is a joke. It's got a Snapdragon 660, and they want how much money for it? $600?
$650.
$650.
Yeah, no. Right. It's not even. It's 1080p equivalent. It's a weird aspect ratio. So the DPI is what, like something 320, 340.
And you're not really feeling the keyboard at all.
I mean, if I was into the keyboard, or if not, that's a matter of personal preference. I'm not. But looking just purely at the rest of the specs, I don't think that the keyboard's worth that premium. You could pick up a OnePlus 6 with way better specs for less money.
Well, I'm going to give Jaime exactly 5 minutes to talk about his past several days holding the Key 2 in hand. And you just go out with it. And I'm going to stop you cold at 5 minutes. So go.
Sounds good. Okay, so I've been using the Key 2 for a bit. I actually was able to see the product very early. And, you know, I guess when I was shown the Key 1 originally, I wanted that phone to be everything that it promised to be. Bear in mind, I come from the days of the BlackBerry Pearl, the BlackBerry Curve. I actually use these products not as a fan enthusiast, but because I needed them for work. I worked in UPS Airlines, and this was the way we would communicate. And so there were a couple of key elements that were important to BlackBerries. They weren't necessarily the most powerful, but this is not the reason why you bought a BlackBerry. You bought a BlackBerry because their software back in the day was incredibly snappy. It was very practical and designed to be a communicator. It wasn't designed to be a multimedia phone. It wasn't designed for anything but to help you communicate. And so you need a couple of important things to achieve, you know, for a communicator to be a communicator. Like, for example, for me, the concept of it doesn't have a Snapdragon 845 or whatever, you know, I didn't understand it when they launched the previous one, and then I started using it for the review period. And I guess I entered the review period being like, oh, man, it's got, like, really? And then, obviously, when I started using it and I got, like, 2 days of battery life after, like, an intensive haul of email and just the typical things that we do, because think about it, like, we literally, most of us work from home or work from a remote office. Most of us are not in the same spot. So the concept of chatting, the concept of voice communication, and the concept of responding to emails is pretty much work for us. That's really what our work entails. And so it is horribly frustrating to have this amazing power on a Galaxy S9 Plus or many phones out there, and as a result have terrible battery life, be it at 5 p.m. and you already need a charger. And so for me, it was one of those things where it was like, shoot, if I could have a phone that could be really, because I always carry two phones. And by the way, I've been carrying two phones ever since I started using a BlackBerry, because I thought that the BlackBerry Pearl's keyboard was just too cramped. And so I was like, all right, I'll have this one. And then my Windows phone is going to be like my primary for content consumption and gaming. And so that was like heaven. That was perfect for me because one of these phones was like perfect. I knew that I could trust it to be like my workhorse. And then I could trust the other one for whenever I wanted to watch a video. And the Key 2, the Key 1 was that, but the keyboard was too mushy. I feel that the software just wasn't ready for what they wanted to do. And my experience with the Key 2 is a lot of that has been solved. I feel that you need a good 3 generations for a product to I mean, we've seen it. Like the OnePlus 1 wasn't the best. The OnePlus 2 wasn't the best. But then the OnePlus 3 was like, oh my God, this is really cool. Same thing. The Galaxy S1 and the 2 were not the best phones, but then the 3 was like great. Same thing with the iPhones. Like the 3GS was like, this is such a great phone. It's the same thing. I mean, the Key 2 is not there in a couple of things. Obviously, our review will go live soon, and we'll go into detail over what those things are. But I feel that would I pay $650? I feel that the price tag is too high. I feel that the price tag of the Key 1 at $550 was still steep. And BlackBerries were never really expensive phones, if you remember. Like if you bought a Bold 9900 back then, it was like $450, $480. So just the whole concept of making this jump into $650, for me, the problem with this phone is mainly that the price tag. Everything else, like I feel that BlackBerry has done so third-party apps do a better job in adapting to this form factor than to adapting to the notch on devices like the P20 Pro, for example. I feel like Instagram and other apps, like those apps adapt perfectly for this phone, but they don't for notch displays in most cases on Android. So I don't know, man. Like for me, I have no complaints about Android. We've got the RAM that we didn't have on the Key 1. So a lot of the things that I didn't like about the Key 1, like how clunky the camera was or how sluggish it became, thank you, those things are solved here. And, oh, my God, like, I love the keyboard just because it feels like a Bold 9900. Like, it's so sweet to type, and there's less travel. And I love that it corrects when you type, not like in the past.
Yeah. So I'm going to cut you off there.
No problem.
They did a whole bunch of research on the Bold 9900 and what the keys should feel like. So they definitely tuned in for that. I find it interesting to see that there is still that gap between the offering and the perceived what should be the price point for this device, because you see it in the raw specs, Ryan, and then also, I mean,
I don't understand
the whole big case of it, but it's like, but it's still not that price, especially, and I guess history has a lot to do with that because of that historically low price. But I don't know. Do you think? Well, I'm going to go back to Ryan on this. Do you think that is it 2018 standards that this is pretty much the least that they can demand without looking like it's cheap, or what do you think it is?
You know, honestly, I don't know what justifies the price. It could be the hardware keyboard, but that doesn't really make sense to me. It's definitely not the specs. I don't think it's the software either, because if it's anything like last year's Key 1, it's not going to get a whole lot of updates, which is kind of weird for something that's being sold to people who are mindful of security, business people. After the way they handled updates on the Key 1, I really wouldn't pick up one of these assuming it's going to be this, you know, high security device. It's quite the opposite based on the previous model. So I really don't know where the price is coming from. Your guess is as good as mine.
But I'm going to stop you right there. I mean, we've got devices like the Galaxy S9 Plus, which has got, like, they boast about Knox so much, and yet that phone has received 0 security updates.
Has it not? Really?
It hasn't, like 0. Like, it's the worst. Like, the state of Android and updates in general is just really bad. Really, really
I mean,
bad.
the only people that are doing, like, Android One participation is up, so, I mean, I'm grateful for that, but also just Nokia in general, because whether or not they've been on Android One, they've made the promise of fast, quick updates, and, you know, they've delivered, even with meticulous inspection on that, and, it's not the same story. I guess.
No, and Ryan definitely has a point. I mean, seriously, if you're gonna tell me that this is a secure phone and you're not gonna do your job when it comes to security updates, that is a big deal. Definitely. I guess I didn't use the key one enough. There are things about this phone that are really cool. I am shocked at how much applications will use your camera or your microphone without you knowing, just because you gave it a permission. And because you can set the DTEC application to tell you that the camera is being used, for me, every time I get a notification, that's an optional notification, by the way. Oh my God, I've been like so conscious of what phones do now. And this is the only phone that provides that, by the way.
Yeah,
Actually, all the Pixels will be providing it with Android P.
With Android P, starting in Android P. I mean, like, you know, BlackBerry's taking the first step, so I guess you could give it a little kudos for that. But it's just, I mean, the focus on, you know, foreground, background operations, you know, and everything that else that the DTEC suite covers is, you know, that those are little like bonus points for case use studies, you know, into the microphone, into the camera and whatnot. And there are just a whole bunch of like little other things that, you know, they hope they combine into this one package that is worth your value, your time, your money. So, I mean, there's a lot to look forward to. I know that Android Police doing some coverage on the Q2 as well, as Jaime is wrapping up his video review, and hopefully the embargo is coming out real soon on your review. So definitely want to make sure that you tune in for those. I want to take a quick break, a quick break right now so that I can swallow some tea and not, you know, go all dry, but also to talk about sponsors. So we'll be back in just 1 second. Introducing Huawei MateBook X Pro, winner of 27 awards at Mobile World Congress, including Best of Show Laptop, Best Innovation, Best Design, Editor's Choice, and Reader's Choice. With Windows Hello, you can unlock your Huawei MateBook X Pro with the touch of your fingerprint. Secure, fast, and no password to remember. Huawei MateBook X Pro now available at Microsoft stores, Amazon, and Newegg.com. For a limited time, get a free $300 gift card with purchase. Visit a Microsoft store near you today. And we are back with more of our program here on the Pocketnow Weekly, and just a couple more interesting little tidbits here in terms of social media. Well, originally I scheduled this block to go first, but I guess we'll just start off with Instagram, because they've made news this week that they're trying to make vertical long-form content more of a thing. I have kind of I think we're taking it too much at face value. We're kind of being disingenuous with it, but I mean, you've had hands-on with IGTV, Jaime Rivera. You've actually posted one bit of content to it, so I want to let you explain it from someone that has actually used it right now.
So I actually teased that I was going to be in the podcast on IGTV before we went live. So everybody that joined, thank you so much. Oh my God! So we've gotten some really strong response on IGTV, a lot higher than I expected. We're still trying to figure out what exactly to cover. So IGTV is literally Instagram. You know, Instagram has been copying a ton of things from other platforms, and I guess it's been doing it very well. Like Instagram stories are a plain copy of Snapchat, but they've done a really good job at it. They provide the discovery that Snapchat doesn't provide. We've got a lot of benefits on IGTV. I guess the problem is they want it to be vertical video, and they want it to be vertical video. You know, it's funny because even Instagram stories now supports horizontal. You can fit a horizontal video into a vertical screen. You get the pillar boxing and everything, but at least it works. But no, they want it to be vertical, and so we've got so many products where we're like, oh my God, how are we going to make this vertical if we didn't frame this to be vertical? We framed it to be horizontal. You know, camera sensors are designed to be 4x3. And you know, the whole thing about, and I still have this debate where it's like, yes, we use our phones vertically, but I see people on the subway all day just using their phones horizontally as well. Just watching videos. So it's not like if it's an unnatural thing to flip your phone. a lot of the comments that I saw yesterday on our Instagram TV post were like, you know, this is kind of weird because we flip our phones all the time. There's nothing wrong with that. And so we'll see. I feel that regardless, I feel that it's awesome that Instagram is coming up with something unique. I feel that YouTube does deserve some competition. I'm actually kind of worried that other platforms have died out and then others are focusing on other things, and then just YouTube is being left alone. And so I love that we have something new, but we are definitely going to approach IGTV differently. We're going to provide different content on IGTV because, again, of the whole form factor thing. But yeah, I like that it's easy. It's very practical to create content for it. Everybody can create content, and the earlier you get on it, the better. So yeah, that's been our perspective.
It's one of those definitely one of those ground floor things that we want to get into. I mean, especially as media companies, I want to wonder if you have any. Well, first of all, personal stake, and also if Android Police has been sort of trying to work out what it might be able to do, because you're also kind of burgeoning in terms of the YouTube aspect as well.
Well, to be honest, I'm not really qualified to speak on the subject of Instagram because I'm a terrible millennial. I can count the number of times I've used it on one hand, and I have no interest in it whatsoever. So I don't personally use it or have too much experience with it. I know that we've been looking into other means for pushing video content, and I assume that the people who do that are looking at that. But I really don't know the first thing. I have no interest in Instagram or vertical video. So.
I understand. I mean, met quite a few friends that are just trying to figure out what the heck is Instagram. So,
but I appreciate the sentiment of pushing it to YouTube, because I'm kind of. We were actually just talking about this on our podcast last night. Like I'm really tired of the way YouTube handles doing everything it does, because they do a terrible job of it, and Google needs to stop stop giving them as much freedom.
It's just it's like one short-sighted move after another, and I feel like as we go into the growing pains of IGTV, it's going to be like that. But I just want to fill out just a few more details on this. So we're talking about any content, again, vertical, but it lasts as long as 15 seconds up to an hour. Now, that hour kind of...
Wait, let me interrupt you there. It tells you just 10 minutes.
At least 10 minutes?
At least initially, your limit is 10 minutes.
So maybe, for more like official public, content creators, it might be an hour automatically for them. But 10 minutes is still quite a long time. I feel like we're going to see that bell curve kind of more arranged towards the 3-4 minute mark, just to be fair. It's going to be interesting to see what happens, especially as YouTube feels the pressure, because they have announced just today monetization measures, more of those, such as paid access to certain videos, certain channels. So it'll be interesting again to see if we can all get a bump in this. I want to just hit on the OPPO Find X. I'm not sure how much we want to talk about this, because I don't know. It feels kind of passé at this point, even though it was only announced Wednesday, and
what are you talking about? How fast things move, man.
What are you talking about? It's probably one of the coolest products I've seen in a while.
Oh, it was cool days ago, but now it's old hat.
Yeah, it's old hat now, right?
Just tell me what is cooler than that phone right now. Give me one.
It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. I mean it is for everybody that's complaining about notches. Yes,
I know about the notch, but what?
I didn't know you felt so strongly about notches.
About servo-fed freaking cameras, like
moving parts are awesome. It doesn't matter if they're useful. I don't care.
All right. Well, if you're so excited, then why don't you talk about it, man?
Jules, what are you complaining about? Come on, man. I mean, we are complaining. You spend time complaining.
You know what? I'm happy it has an AMOLED display, because that's pretty much the best that you can get around these parts at this point.
Let me stop you.
8 gigs of RAM standard.
Let me stop you right there.
It's like €999, and that's totally fine for this kind of thing. Like, I get it.
You don't like experiments, man? It's cool.
Jules, let me stop you right there.
I guess I should be more happy about it.
You complain about
it's going to come into Europe and the United States for the first time. Yes.
Can I please talk now? Thank you. You complain about notches. Now you're going to complain about a solution for them?
I haven't complained about notches.
Come on, dude. I mean,
we all
my
know
personal opinion is that I'm fine with notches.
That's the thing. I mean, smartphones need to evolve. We've come into this complacency where one company does one thing and everybody follows, and then here we have a company that comes up with a completely different approach of how to build a product. Whether it's a good idea or not, dude, I mean, there's only one way to find out. We've got series called reviews. We've got comparisons. We've got After the Buzz videos where we get to test products over time and see how they perform. We will see if this idea works or not. Is it worth €1,000? Oh my God! I'd ask you the same question about the iPhone 10. I don't know if I could tell you that.
I think it's totally worth €1,000 for what it is. It's just
for the specs. I don't know.
Well, but that's the thing. Oppo has always been like that. I mean, they come up with these for me, I'm actually glad that Oppo's back. We had the N series from Oppo, and then they stopped doing it completely. We had the Find series from Oppo, then they stopped doing it completely, and they started pulling a ton of iPhone clones. And sure, they
realized it was their bread and butter. That was like money that they could make, and send them to be like the second best in the second most shipping in China. Like, I mean, I totally get their strategy. That's what works in China. And it's a sustenance thing. I feel like they're going in this at the right time, because you know what, Xiaomi has been making a big mess about their global expansion and how they want to get all the money to them. And the Chinese government is like complaining because not enough Chinese money is going into it. Whatever. But Oppo is just taking its own initiative, and I should be happy for them because we're going to see something new for the first time. It's great. For me, it's just, I guess maybe it's just that servo thing. I don't know what's going on with me and moving parts, but I don't know. Because we saw this. It's worth the experiment. It's worth the Find. Wasn't it the Find 5? I think it was the Find 5 that was introduced it to us because it had one camera, but it was on this pivot, and it just flipped around and said that you could that was amazing. And this, with the 3D facial recognition and great cameras, those in themselves are amazing. But does it really have to be does it have to pop up every single time? Why can't I just pop it up myself? And I find that to be. I want to have that option at least, because it's not an option. It automatically detects it, when you're doing the facial recognition thing or you're opening the camera app. No, I want to, be able to make sure that
control of the camera,
physical redundancy in case it fails.
I don't know.
I'm afraid it fails.
Before you start praising the camera too much, keep in mind that camera performance is as much about software as it is about hardware, and there is no indication whatsoever that Oppo knows what they're doing when it comes to that. But this is spaghetti on the wall. It's interesting to see.
The dot projection or the infrared projection.
I've been using a ton of Oppo phones in the past. They weren't necessarily the best cameras, but they, we have to understand that they focus a lot on the Chinese market. And the Chinese market has a very interesting preference when compared to us. The Chinese market cares a lot more about selfies in general, and they have catered their selfie technology very well. They have really... Give me a second. They were one of the first companies to actually boost the amount of megapixels on the selfie camera. If you've noticed, I mean, I think that we've been having 20 megapixel sensors from them for a bit. Their whole beautifying modes and things like that. They've been investing hard on that. And then my experience with the primary shooters is, of course, they're not great low light performers, but they'll do a decent job. So
would they do a €1,000 job?
Oh, that's a good question. So see, this is one of those things where it's we have to remember that the Find series has been their flagship series for years before they killed it out. So honestly, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. I'm waiting for my review unit, and I will assess it. I saw a couple of reviews already went live, which I find interesting as I know the time frame for shipping was kind of constrained. So okay, fine, there are reviews already. Not going to criticize anybody, but This is one of the things you need to test. And particularly, I understand your concern, Jules, particularly with that mechanism. Is it able to deliver all the time? That's going to be a very interesting question. Can it do it or not? Because, you know, Vivo will give you that selfie camera popping up every now and then, but only when you need it. Whereas this phone has to do it every single time. So it's going to be interesting to see if it can deliver or not.
Yeah, it is. I just wanted to also just mention the one other thing that really pissed me off about this was the fact that they labeled their freaking facial recognition like suite O-Face. And
O-Face?
Yes.
Yeah, no.
Are you serious?
And if this is their official push into European and North American markets, I mean, I'll just leave it there.
O-Face.
O-Face.
You have the title for your review now. OPPO Find X, this is my O-Face.
Oh my god. O-F.
O-face. O-face.
Yeah.
They have emoji because, of course, you have to have an emoji.
All right, let's
talk.
2018 is going to be the year of crazy branding, starting with the LG ThinQ brand.
Oh.
I'm like, God, where did you guys get that marketing team? Because I have yet to meet one consumer that likes to say the word ThinQ.
It's because all the good employees have left the sinking ship, man. This is 2018 is going to be the last year of LG, man.
No, it's not. It's not. It's not sinking. It's ThinQ.
Yeah. No, they'll probably stick around for a little longer, but I don't think they're long for this world. Them and HTC both.
I mean, LG has made the point.
I'm sad about LG. I mean, LG, both companies. I mean,
I'm sad about both. Yeah, consumer choice is good.
Yeah, and these come on, these companies made some really great phones. Like there was a time where LG was LG, HTC was HTC, and now everything is Samsung.
Everything's Samsung.
Apple,
everybody else is making stuff at a loss.
I think they're still around because they have that reason. They have, they're Chable. So they have a whole bunch of pools that they play in, and they might as well have the smartphone division. That's their excuse because they want to play around with the technology and do it anyways because they don't have to make money in that division. They got others like laundry machines and whatnot that make enough money for them. But it's just I don't know how to feel about that. If you're not really going to take it seriously, then don't take it at all.
Don't take the Sony approach.
Don't take the Sony approach. Just no more splats on the wall. No more figuring out what that is. Finally, one more topic thing. I'm trying to find words here, but I just wanted to mention that finally the New South Wales government again is conducting a study to see how kindergarten to year 12 students use their smartphones in schools, and based on whatever they find, they might suggest new policies that will either ban the use of smartphones in school or limit them, perhaps even just limit them to dumb phones, just carry those around. So
I think that's a great ruling. Shoot.
Yeah. So, we'll have to see about that because the study is only just starting. I just wanted to, start off by wondering what your involvement with phones was back in maybe middle school, high school. I mean, I'm a millennial, so of course
I'm not that young, Jules. I'm not that young. Ryan, please, by all means, go for it.
I mean, in college, I got I think senior year of high school, I got a BlackBerry Pearl, and I didn't pull it out in class or anything like that, but I had one. I used it. I think I actually would have gotten in trouble if I had used it in class, but. Yeah, I can't say I disagree with the idea of going without smartphones in schools. Like they've got other things to focus on. There's no real reason to have one. A laptop's one thing you can do. Work on a laptop. Maybe a tablet if you believe Apple. But I don't really see a reason to.
Good one.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing here that I can provide as the 23-year-old in this group. I first saw the first smart cell phone, just plain old cell phone, back when. I was in the third grade, actually,
oh my God.
So about 9 years old.
Lucky kid. I wish.
I mean, that kid was lucky, but it was quite amazing to me how quickly it spread because it wasn't, it was like over the next couple of years, it was probably like maybe 30-40% of our students, my classmates, just getting that phone in, and eventually that turned into BlackBerry. Eventually that turned into just iPhone or Android, or well, mostly iPhone, because that's the case that happens to be with teens and whatnot. But it's,
well, as the father of 3 kids, I'll tell you this much: there's a phenomenon happening, and we're noticing it with Android P, and we're noticing it with iOS 12, where companies are becoming conscient of the fact that we can't consider the fact that things like, if you remember when the App Store was originally launched many years ago for the iPhone, they were like, this is going to be an amazing gold rush for developers. And these companies have allowed developers this insane amount of liberty in creating content that is really good at keeping people locked into their phones. And this is the way they make money. The problem is we're really hurting society. We're really hurting society because, like, it's very funny to get on a New York City subway and notice that people are all on their phones. Like, it doesn't really matter what age group you're in, everybody is on their phones. And it just makes society a lot less friendly to a certain degree. And so I find that if you're an adult, you have more of a you have a more educated palate in that phase of your life for you to make the conscious decision if you want to be stuck using your phone or not. But as a kid, kids don't have enough judgment to define if they've spent too much time on their phone or not. They just don't. And these apps are really cool. They're designed to lock them in. So I, as a father of 3, would be extremely happy if we could go back to, because it's funny how a lot of parents these days, like I sometimes go to parent-teacher conferences, and they're like, yes, but what happens if I have an emergency and I need to talk to my kid? And I'm like, how do we do that 30 years ago? Like 20 years ago, there was one phone in the school, and if there was an emergency, you call the damn school, you pull the kid from school, and you make him talk. Or a dumb phone is also a good solution.
Yeah.
To be fully honest with you, oh my God, I would love that to be a general rule. And I would even love it for societies to have like some sort of a restriction where, like, we as parents are forced, like, for example, the fact that, children can't buy alcohol or they can't buy cigarettes until they can show an ID. I would love for there to be like a forced parental control for how much kids are using digital devices in their spare time. I get it when they need them for work, but I mean, if you, like, seriously, yes, but I'm talking to my friend, like, go out and play ball, man. Like, go out and interact with other kids, because the only problem, that's my perspective. I feel that it's a step in the right direction, and I like that it's only one country, so it allows you to test the ground and see how the reaction in society is going to be.
Yeah, I want to get to Ryan's point here, if he has one on this particular issue, because I'm going to mount a rigorous defense against this here. So,
I don't see how you could. I gotta say, I agree. Like when I was in school, when I was a kid, and we did have dumb phones at the time, you were forbidden from using those during class. Like, that was already a rule. You can't have it. You could have it on your person if you wanted to, but it had to be set to silent. And functionally, you may as well not have had one, because you weren't looking at it, you weren't getting notifications on it, it wasn't having an effect on you. And I just think it disrupts the learning process. They're there to learn. They're not there to talk to their friends. They're not there to look things up online. They need to be paying attention to the things teachers are saying. I don't think there's any real reason for students to need a phone during class.
All right. Well, I guess I have to be the one that actually has to just to make sure that we get the other side here. So
you're lucky we're not in the same room, Jules, because I would gag you. Go ahead. Fire
Go
away.
ahead. All right. But here, the phone represents a medium of communication, a medium of just the mobile phone is a medium of communication that is just represents freedom for kids to be able to actually talk, and also just not just when you're meeting up with one person or meeting up with another person, but just being able to let people know that you're this, you're that, you're happy, you're sad, and that you're free to express. And in some cases without having the parents know about what exactly you're doing, because sometimes you have things that you keep from your parents because you're not exactly sure if they're afraid, or if you should be afraid of them reacting to whatever you're doing. Be it your personal identities. Excuse me, I'm talking here. Personal identities, and or whatnot. Yeah. So, and there is a valid use for them in school because
during class.
During class, because I was able to text my answers to certain questions. They're implementing digital lessons with projection boards and little presentation slides. Yeah, but again, some schools, a lot of schools actually don't have budgets or can't really afford to keep and maintain a whole fleet of iPads or they have IT to deal with support. That infrastructure costs a ton of money, and while it may be the future, I mean, a lot of them will stick to using computers that are well tried and true and that are older. And this is something that they have less to deal with personal cell phones. They have less to deal with in terms of just getting kids to use their own phones and a sense of privacy, a sense of being able to be secure and type in whatever they want, and also just being able to educate effectively and quickly.
How is this?
It's a deterrent
problem. I'm sorry. That's not the parent's problem, dude.
Yeah, that's a bit of a stretch. That's a bit of a stretch.
It's a stretch. You're entitled to your opinion, buddy. You're entitled to your opinion.
Here's the thing. I've made a ton of friends on the internet, on mobile internet, that I don't think I would have, because I identify one way or another, and I'm afraid about what my parents think about what
no, certainly. But do you need to be talking with those people during the middle of class? I
mean, if shit's going down in the middle of class, then yes.
Well, you'd probably hear about it. It's going down in the middle of class. You're there.
I mean, the schools are not just about communication, about education. It is about education of social interactivity and how people treat each other. In some cases, totally. Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, those things exacerbate. And I mean, I talked about in this piece here.
So you used your phone during class when you were in high school, is what you're telling me?
Oh yeah, totally.
Like while you were sitting in the seat and you were supposed to be paying attention to what the teacher was saying, you were instead ignoring that to do your own thing.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, behavior you want to encourage other people to do.
Are you chatting with somebody else right now as we're doing this podcast, or do you need to be attentive in what we're doing?
You wish.
Because here's the thing: this is I don't because you're like.
But I love it. I love it. I
understand. You don't understand where I'm coming from here.
I love it.
You grew up with a very conventional, very straightforward thing, but we're in an evolving society here, and in some cases, when immediacy is important, when you're trying to deal with services like how to de-escalate a very hostile situation, that
when you need to know about Becky just broke up with her boyfriend during math class.
Well, not even. Well, yeah, I mean, especially or in some cases when people can't handle their management, manage their anger properly, then you find that there are tech services nowadays that rely on certain kinds of data policies, but it's there's a person right next to you, or there's a person that you're able to access immediately. That's like, hey, let's talk things down. Let's go like.
When everyone's supposed to be doing something else,
I suggest that you listen. I suggest that you listen to Marketplace's "Make Me Smart" podcast, because there is an episode that does mention this, and that talks about this service.
So using a phone during school while you're supposed to be paying attention to the lessons.
Yeah, I mean, no, seriously, because sometimes it's the lessons that these happenings, that these events occur. So I mean, if you're trying to really, I mean, I don't know about you. I don't know what went on in your life, but I've gone through, I've seen stuff in my life that really hasn't been,
Trust me, man. I come from a generation, and I come from a society where doing something else while you're supposed to be paying attention is called disrespect.
Yeah,
that's just the way it is, And one of the major things is, it's just the basic principle in life. Principles are eternal. It doesn't really matter what generation you're on. It doesn't really matter what you do. Principles are basic, like respecting other people, Giving people. That's just the way it is. Don't do to others what you wouldn't like to be done to you. You wouldn't like for you to be talking to a person and that person having a chat conversation with somebody else on the phone. This is just basic human interaction, basic human behavior. Where I understand. It's not that I don't understand your point, Jules. It's just I feel that I've had so many bad experiences interviewing people for jobs in the previous job that I had. Because particularly of how introverted most of our society has become, because people are stuck on their phones and they don't have that ability to socialize with other people. Like, I totally get I come from the generation where chatting was born, buddy. And I made a ton of friends, and I dated a lot of girls that way. But we, eventually we learned that those kinds of communications aren't really communications. Like, it's not the same for you to learn to actually address a person directly in a meeting. And so it's not the same for you to learn those social skills. Like, this phone is not going to teach you that. This phone is designed to, yes, help you communicate. That's the principle. But there are a lot of applications in this phone that weren't designed to help you communicate. They're designed to help you consume what they sell in many other ways. And the biggest problem is,
I think that's totally cynical.
It's not. What are you talking about? You know what the meaning of cynical is?
Yeah, I totally do. And I think that's
the meaning.
Go ahead.
The meaning of cynical is that I am telling you.
We have to wrap this up, by the way. So it's like
I know you do, but the word just doesn't apply right here. I am telling you that this product is designed to sell me something in most cases. Like, if I download Fortnite, how can you guarantee that a kid is not going to be playing Fortnite while the class is going on? Instead of actually doing the things that you're saying right now.
You can't enforce what they're going to be using the phone for.
That is cynical. That is cynical. For you to say that you have something and that you're using it for one purpose, but then you're doing something else entirely. And that's the reason why I'm telling you, children cannot. They don't understand. Children don't have enough judgment. They don't have the maturity to learn that it's bad to be playing Candy Crush while the teacher is trying to teach them something.
Delayed gratification isn't something you get at that age. You don't understand.
That, my friend, is being cynical.
I don't think you trust children enough. Especially if you haven't.
I've got 3 kids. You're gonna give me a lecture in that department, really?
Give a 12-year-old an iPad and tell him not to look at it while you're doing something else, and it's not going to happen.
You're going to give me a lecture over the concept of raising kids. That's kind of a hard one, buddy. But you know what? Again, I listen. That's the beauty of this podcast. It's about opinion, man. This is yours, and you're giving it as a millennial, and that's awesome, man. I'm just telling you the things that I deal with as a parent, where for you, obviously, it's convenient because it's your rights, the ones that you're defending. But then as a parent, I'm the one that has to teach them how to live. And I will tell you this much. The best way to teach them how to live is to teach them how to survive in the world, not how to survive on their phones.
If my parents and teachers have not done a good job of that, where else do we turn to? Anyway. I'll just say that.
Anyways,
I'll just say that because again, there are millions of children that feel the same right now. So, and that's why you have these, memes and Tumblr and whatnot. I mean, you can go into the sociology of it, but
you don't have enough looking at memes in class, man. It's not the time for it. Go at home, lunch break, whatever, but not while you're supposed to be paying attention to what's in front of you, what people are saying.
Exactly. I mean, shoot. If we were in a meeting, right now, and somebody would pull out a phone and I notice that they're playing Candy Crush while I'm the boss and I'm telling them what to do and they're not paying attention to me, they're fired.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
See, here's the thing. That's what school is for. Schools are to teach children how to survive in the world. That's what they're for.
Schools are basically a memorization kind of bank that you kind of use to gain memory and to use but like you forget how you do
that's not what schools are.
Like there's much more.
It teaches you problem solving.
There is more. There's problem solving, but then again, there's also just memorizing a whole bunch of stuff that again you might not care to remember in 30 years unless you find. It's more about that. It's more exploring. It's more. And
we're going a little deep. We're going a rabbit hole here. We're going a little deep in the rabbit hole here.
I mean, you guys disagree. I understand.
Don't worry. Whenever, trust me, 10 years from now, I want you to watch this podcast again, and let me know if you still think the same way.
Well, it's again, nothing is guaranteed.
Trust me, hey, no, when I was, you know what? When I was 23, I didn't think the same.
Well,
my school didn't allow phones, so I already know what I think. I thought
that's fair.
They didn't.
I mean, a couple years ago, I was on the opposite side of the fence. So
there you go.
Just letting you know that I've changed on this subject, and choose to say I'm not going to change again. But hey, right now, I feel like this is where we should end the conversation. It does continue on Twitter, though, so be sure to keep the conversation going by emailing us at podcast@pocketnow.com. We really want to hear the thoughts that you want to get out there and the questions you need answering. Also, we're all on Twitter, hashtag PN Weekly, for example, for this show. Ryan Hager is at Ryan Hager at RYNEHAGER. Jaime Rivera at Jaime_Rivera, JAIME_RIVERA. And I'm at Point Jules. Pocketnow is at Pocketnow on Twitter, Facebook, Google+, YouTube, where you can find the Pocketnow Daily every weekday with Jaime Rivera. We also have a lovely site, pocketnow.com, for all your mobile tech news needs. We certainly appreciate reviews and ratings on Apple Podcasts or wherever you have to be streaming us. For the team, I'm Jules Wong. We thank you for watching. We thank you for listening. And we'll talk to you again next week.